My boyfriend told me I didn't live up to expectations. It's pretty much what the title says. I'm F20, writing this to get it off my chest and for confirmation about potentially leaving him, M21, after what he said to me that just came out of nowhere, or if I'm overreacting. I've known him since high school, and we're both in college now. I'm in a community college, and he goes to a university not too far from me, and we have been dating for the past 7 months. We've never had any major fights or arguments or anything. We only see each other once or twice a week during semester, and we often hang out most when school is out or over the breaks. However, over the weekend, I slept over and we planned to have sex for the first time, but he quickly became upset when I didn't want to do what he wanted, and he asked me to sit in the splits while he released, and I told him I didn't want to because I simply didn't feel like it. But he got all mad at me and said I ruined the mood and that I thought dating someone who did yoga would be more fun, and he just got dressed and went to bed without saying much. I told him that wasn't fair and that it was my first time and I didn't want to, but he just didn't care, and I felt like shit staying over with him. I tried to talk about it in the morning and he listened to me, but he said that last night didn't live up to expectations and that maybe next time would be better, but I don't want a next time if it's all gonna be about him and not about us, and I don't think I'm being entitled by thinking that way. I'm more than some hobby that he just happens to know about, but I feel like he's trying to guilt me for not going along with it, and even after what he said, he still believed that I was the one who was being unfair, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it, and I'm considering ending things before the weekend since he hasn't changed his stance about it, but just wanted to hear some other opinions on how to best go about telling him it's over or perhaps trying one last time. Although I don't think it'll change anything, and especially if I don't want to do something that he's trying to guilt me about. Too long didn't read. My boyfriend said that I'm being selfish and not living up to expectations because I didn't want to do something he asked me to do in bed, and he's been guilting me for it, and I've been considering ending things, but I want to know how it would be best to go about it. Edit: this was my first time ever, and there were no discussions about his fantasy beforehand at all. And it's not like I said that I would never do it, I just said that I didn't feel like it then. And then he started shaming me and got dressed and went to bed and continued to hold the same stance in the morning, but it's not like I said that I never would. I told him I was a little scared being my first time, but he just didn't care, and that's why I'm considering it. Edit 2, I'm going to text him that it's over once I get off from work, and I'm considering sending a link to this thread and telling him what r/Kuvat said, that he didn't live up to my expectations, and that the only way I'll reconsider is if he can do the splits, but I'm going to actually block him. Really appreciate all of the reassurance and kind advice. Wait, was this your first time ever, or just with him? Either way, you didn't do anything wrong by refusing. He's obviously watched way too much porn, and you're not his sex doll that he can manipulate into any position he wants. Gross. Curious here, did he make any efforts to satisfy you, or did he just care about getting himself off? If he didn't take care of you first, I'd throw that dollar hit right back in his face. You know, it just didn't leave up to my XPCT at IONS. Oh my god, girl, run. This guy is a selfish ass. You should have sex with caring and giving people, if you want to. Don't try again. He had his chance and he completely fucked it up. He showed you his true nature. Call him or text him and tell him it's over. And focus on yourself and your pleasure. I've been planning to do so for the entire week and probably considering it for too long already, but the next time I'd see him would be on the weekend, so I plan to end it today and definitely before then. I feel like maybe I dodged a bullet if he's going to guilt me about not doing something he wants that could perhaps turn into something else over time, and the more he thinks it's okay to try and pressure me into it. And I also feel that he just likes me because I do yoga, and the second I don't want to do what he wants, I'm no longer valuable. But I don't want a next time if it's all gonna be about him and not about us, and I don't think I'm being entitled by thinking that way. You hit the nail on the head here. Yes, he can have fetishes or requests. Yes, it can be nice to have a flexible yoga GF, but in the end, That's only a very little part of sex. Sex is great, not because of the physicality, but for a lot of people, sex is the externalization of the great bond you share. Great sex for that reason is not someone who has the best parts down there or who has the best stamina, but someone who listens to the desire of their partner and a relationship that reciprocates that. That's perfectly in sync with that. That's why your words about him and not about us are the nail on the head, especially if this is your first time. I mean, you have all the time in the world later on to maybe explore a bit more after you feel confident and comfortable enough, but this is not that time, especially not for a girl, who's always a bit vulnerable the first time, in my opinion. So yeah, this argument on itself isn't the big deal here. The fact that he can't see what he did wrong, on the other hand, that he can't have empathy or consideration for your point of view, that's the underlying topic that's very alarming. So yeah, I, 23M, would consider that as a red flag and a possible reason to break up, if my partner can't find a way to wrap her head around that. You obviously have to talk to him seriously about this subject and how it makes you feel, and that it's very fundamental for you to have a partner who understands that. If he can't give you that, your relationship will always end at some point. He is so gross. He said that last night didn't live up to expectations and that maybe next time would be better. This is so rude. He was comparing you to some script in his head which he didn't tell you about. He wanted you to be some kind of cool sex bunny. What did he do for you? He sounds selfish and rude. Some script in his head. The script of some yoga porn video, more like. No idea if yoga porn exists, but it seems like just about anything can be woven into a porn film, so no, you shouldn't be even slightly guilty about it. If you don't feel guilty doing something sexually and someone is trying to pressure you into doing it anyways, leave the guy immediately. There is no excuse for that. Just dump the creepy weirdo through a text and never see him again. Honestly leaning towards a text message today, since the next time I see him is over the weekend usually, and I've been brewing over it for too long already, but just needed to hear from someone else that I wasn't crazy or overreacting. Am I, 18F, being overdramatic about my dad's, 39 meters, drunk interaction with me? First, the following text was written in my notes app quickly and with horrible formatting. I only wrote it down because it's so out of character for him I'd think it were a dream anyways. He was drunk enough that all he was doing was giggling and laughing. I laughed along with him because it was funny. He wasn't very aware of anything, even jokingly accusing me of stealing his money that was right in front of him. After a bit of that, he opened my stepmom's door and looked in. I thought it was to check if she was asleep because he had been talking and laughing rather loud, and stepped into the room for a moment. Then, because it seemed kind of like he was done talking, I went back into my room. About a minute later he knocked at my door and I thought it was to say goodnight, so I stepped back into the hall to hug him, but he took my arms and led me into the kitchen. He then told me I was beau today I fucked up, and held my face with his hands, constantly brushing the hair from it. I tilted my head back because my face was too close to his and played it off like being insecure at him looking at the pores on my nose. He turned us both around and hugged me, so I hugged back. He told me again how beau today I fucked up I was and kissed me on the lips, while his were kind of open. I kept mine still. He pulled away and said something like this is about to be a different kind of situation. He kept saying that. Wouldn't let me pull away too far. Kept my face in his hands, and clearly said I think you should go home. We were in our home. I repeated it and he confirmed that I should. I'd what that meant. I was so uncomfortable. Way more touchy than normal. Hands on my waist, under my arms. He said again that it was gonna be a different type of situation. After another hug I pulled away, said I needed to work. He got a little more normal after a couple seconds, saying yeah, that's what we do. I went back to my room and a few minutes later he knocked. When I answered he asked is this the new normal? I went is what the new normal? And he took a long while before going do you do extra things for everyone? And I was confused so I asked what do you mean? Like going out of my way to be nice, or school? And he said he'd leave it up for me to decide then left. Then came back a few minutes later to ask what my answer was. I told him I was still confused, and that his question was vague. and he eventually said to forget about it and went, sorry if I'm being weird right now. Then changed the topic to talk about a rug. I felt very unsafe during this whole interaction, and I just want other people's input on whether or not this was weird. It's very out of character for him, and he was very drunk, but acted relatively normal afterwards. Please help. I don't want to make a big deal out of something that isn't. Hey Smile, had a few experiences like this at your age. No need to panic, you are fine and safe. As once as you share some of this information with an adult that you trust. I think do this before you speak to your father or stepmom. Get someone that you can rely on to know exactly what happened as a first step. Second, tell your father in no uncertain terms that you are disgusted and disappointed by what happened and that he was well out of line and can never ever put you in a situation like that ever again. Ever. Be firm, no playing nice during this conversation. Get mad if you need to. He needs to be firmly put in his place. He needs to feel shame and embarrassment about this, to make sure it sticks in his brain. And thirdly, remember that this is not normal. You should never have to deal with anyone ever violating your personal boundaries, personal space, unwanted sexual advances. These are not things that you should accept from anyone. If a stranger did this, you are in your right to defend yourself with force. If a friend did this, it would be enough to cut contact. The fact that it was your father has so many levels of wrong. It's disturbing, remember that. His selfish and unjustifiable behavior means he has likely left a deep scar that will not just fade away. For me, I thought I would forget it all, but it hasn't gone away, and I've been in therapy for most of my 20s dealing with the fallout of toxic behaviors from both of my parents. This is not okay, and you deserve so much better from the person who is supposed to protect you. Find adults who you trust and go spend your time around them. Take care of your mental health as you get older, and be mindful of getting into relationships with the wrong kind of guys. If you ever want to ask any questions, message me. Smile. You are going to be fine though. You've got this. You're the strong one here. Smile. Please leave this house. You're not safe. No, you are possibly underreacting. This is behavior suitable for romance, not his daughter. Your gut is correct. He also checked to see if your stepmom was conscious and able to hear, which she wasn't. He knew what he was doing was wrong and said so. This is grooming behavior at the very least. My father was drunk my whole life and became increasingly inappropriate after I turned 18. However, I have made it clear my whole life what is unacceptable enough to where I will make a big fucking problem by any means necessary. So he knew better than to ever touch me the way you were. Unable to pull away to a normal distance. I see your comment below mentions your stepmother resenting you, and it is concerning if she somehow picked up on your father's attraction but does not care other than wanting you gone. Please contact your mother. Please also understand this behavior is likely to escalate, perhaps slowly over years. I have stories until the year he died, when I found my underwear on his bureau. You would be wise to treat this as a survival situation and become financially and materially independent as best you are able to. Please reach out to friends who may be able to get you in an emergency, or you can show up there. Be mindful of your physical positions in a room with your father so that you are never literally backed into a corner. Always have an escape plan or 3 ready to go. I'm sorry you have to go through this. You can call Rain Hotline to talk about how you feel. Even though no physical assault happened, they helped me and said it's okay. My mom 39F left me, 20F, when I was a baby. Family ignores this fact when she's around at holidays. She's back again and I don't know how to feel or what to do. Hello, sorry in advance for how long it is. Background: my mother was used a lot of hard drugs before, smoked a bit during and after her pregnancy. It became obvious pretty quickly to my dad that she wasn't fit to be a mother when she would leave for days, weeks at a time and come back just to spend all our money on drugs again. So he kicked her out. Yay for him. Only thing is that around middle school she came back and tried to apologize and make amends by being a mother again. I was pretty out of touch with my emotions at the time, still can be at times, so I didn't think about how she actually left me and was just excited to have a mother again. Prior to this, I would see her at family gatherings like Christmas, Easter, my birthday, and other holidays. Our interactions weren't very mother-daughter like though, more like kid and kinda distant aunt. Flash forward a summer of having a mom and starting to become close-ish again, she left again. I didn't realize it at the time, but she had started smoking weed, probably worse stuff too. She got evicted from her apartment and moved to Idquare. I never really heard from her again except at the family gatherings where our relationship pretty much just reverted back to distant aunt and now teen. End of high school came around and a dramatic scene happened at Christmas to the point of my grandma crying. After that nobody heard from my mom for a year until we found out she was in recovery. 6 months later she showed up to a family event for the first time. I knew she was invited because while I'm not so keen on forgiving her, my grandma desperately wants her daughter back, which of course makes sense. Since then, she's back at family gatherings with the same distant aunt to me now as a young adult relationship. Over the 1.5-year disappearance, I started going to therapy and realized how much her leaving has affected me and my father. I decided maybe a month before she came back that I wasn't ready to make amends with her. And even if that process were to start, I feel as though she should make the first move / show significant effort that she's serious this time. I don't think I could go through being left a third time. The thing I've come to realize recently is how much she's avoided talking about what's happened. I haven't seen any real acknowledgement of how she left me either times, and each time she just comes back and nobody in my family speaks of it. They're just happy to have her back. I want her to be better. I want this to be the last time she has to be clean and give her the best shot at that. But looking out for me, I'm still not ready to have a relationship with her, and she hasn't put in any effort to reach out to me since she's been back. Literally one text to which I replied and never heard back from. I don't know anyone else who has had a parent leave them. All of my friends have both parents present in their lives, so I have nobody to talk to about what's normal or not. I know her leaving isn't okay, but I don't know what to do about how my family blatantly avoids how she left me and was a terrible mother. They acknowledge it outside her presence, but then when she's around it's like I have to pretend that everything's okay to keep the peace when I'm dying inside. I want to cut her off until she's more stable, but I don't want to cut off the rest of my family because of this decision. Any advice on having a parent leave / come back? I truly have nothing to compare to.